I think one of the biggest realizations I had at SPA was that I was on the right track the whole time. Even when I struggled to really enforce consequences that I didn't agree with, it was because in my heart I desired more restorative approaches for my students, even if I didn't realize or have the language or the knowledge to realize that that's what they really needed inherently and intuitively. I wanted to support them. I recognized the power of relationships. And SPA has kind of given me the knowledge and the language and the tools to kind of make that a reality in my students. For our conflict integration project, we chose my school. And, what I would say to my old self is troublemakers are kind of like canaries in a coal mine, right? And we're talking about Carla Shalaby's Troublemakers book. But troublemakers are kind of like canaries in a coal mine. And they're singing and they're bringing light to the injustices that exist within our school system and within our discipline systems within those schools. So they're not really troublemakers. Their troublemakers are the system. The problem exists in the system itself. And if we focus more on relationships instead of letting people stand by and degrade and talk trash about their students when they're having a hard time, instead of being people who assume the best and seek to understand, those are the type of people we need in our school. So I would actually go back and say something to Mr. Gooden later and say, I heard your comment, and our kids need team members who recognize that their behaviors a lot of times are symptoms of a greater problem. And if you had a relationship with these students, Mr. Gooden, you would understand that. And I'm not faulting you because they're not in your class. But I do want to recommend a book called Troublemakers by Carla Shalaby to you. And I am going to recommend to my principal too that we have to use more restorative practices in our school. We can't have throwaway people. We need to assume the best in these kids. We need to keep them in schools, and we need to build the relationships with them to understand them better, provide space and restorative circles to talk about what they feel, what's going on, and try to repair some of the damage that comes up when they're experiencing trauma or traumatic situations, and also when we have issues in the school where we violate our contracts with each other. So yeah, I was on the right track. That's what I would say. You're on the right track, Ashley. Keep going. Even if you don't have the resources, you know what you're doing. Relationships are everything.